Hi everybody, welcome to the Rubin Report. I'm Dave Rubin. We have a crazy breaking news, jam-packed edition of the show today. There is so much stuff going on in the world right now. You know, some weeks, not that much going on. We got to pull a story out of our butts. Not this week. There is just a ton going on. Things are changing as we speak. So we're going to get right to it. I've got two great guests with me. I've got Miss Jackie Geary and Miss Vanessa Gomez, and there is so much to talk about, a lot of Egypt stuff, but we're going to start with Alec Baldwin. I have to do this story because of everything that I've been tweeting. So we all know basically what happened. He was at James Gandolfini's funeral. A reporter thought that his wife was tweeting during the funeral, which actually turned out not to be true. And then Alec went on his latest Twitter tirade. Let's read him. All right, so from the bottom up in chronological order, I want all my followers and beyond to straighten out this fucking little bitch, George Stark. George Stark was the writer who tweeted that his wife was tweeting. My wife and I attend a funeral to pay our respects to an old friend, and some toxic Brit writes this fucking trash. I'd put my foot up your fucking ass, George Stark, but I'm sure you dig it too much. I'm gonna find you, George Stark, you toxic little queen, and I'm gonna fuck you up. Truly a lovely, lovely fella. All right, so before we get into this, I just want to say I'm a comedian, I'm a talk show host. I believe in free speech. You can do whatever you want. You can say whatever you want, short of yelling fire in a movie theater and basically threatening violence, which he pretty much did. So I would always veer on the side of free speech. So I don't necessarily think that that's what this is about. Ladies, where does this loon, like, how are you so rich and entitled and get whatever you want all the time and still so angry? Jackie.
Oh, I have no idea. It's so depressing and horrible. And I love him. Why does he make it so hard for us to love him?
Well, that's
it's impossible.
Isn't that
he's
the
a
irony?
Genius.
Yeah.
Comedically and evil and sick and sad and twisted as a
Right.
human. Like, keep it together, man.
Yeah.
How do you? I have so much trouble every time I read it. Look, like the sticking the foot up the ass, and that's
And
where
liking it.
Right.
that's where it crosses it for me. I can't let that go. That's some rage-filled hate right there.
Is that the part that makes it homophobic to you? Because the toxic queen part, I could see you could work your way out of it.
And he tried to, by
and
the
he
way.
tried to.
He tried to say he was referring,
Right.
he could refer to anybody as a queen, just somebody thinks that they're better than somebody or
So
whatever.
we'll get to his apology in a second, but is the put the foot up your ass and enjoy it, is that the part that makes it more homophobic?
I mean, look, I think this isn't the first time that he's gone on a tirade. I mean, this is not news at 11. We know that Alec is capable of doing this. But yes, I definitely think that was the tweet that broke, the camel's back. It's like it was so unnecessary, and it was visual. I mean, that's part of it. You have a picture in your head, and yeah, you're right. I mean, I think that was the tweet that was really what put over the edge. I think if he had just tweeted maybe the other things, like you said, I'm gonna F you up, or that's trash, it's not true what he said. I mean, obviously he's defending his pregnant wife, so I wouldn't say that people would think it's uncommon or unfair to, defend his wife, but definitely he went way over the line.
All right, so let's look at his apology and then we'll jump back in. So here's what he said. The idea of me calling this guy a queen and that being something that people thought is homophobic, a queen to me has different meaning. It's somebody who's just above. It doesn't have any necessarily sexual connotations. I know women that act queenie, I know men that are straight that act queenie, and I know gay men that act queenie. It doesn't have to be a definite sexual connotation or a homophobic connotation. To me, those are people who think that rules don't apply to them. This guy could blatantly lie about my wife on the internet, and there are just no rules that apply to him, but that's outrageous to me. Now, the irony of this is that Alec Baldwin is the one that thinks no rules apply to him. Remember the phone on the plane and that whole thing? So even in that apology, he really didn't address what we're all agreeing is the more egregious comment and the threat of violence, right?
It's just stop talking. Stop talking. You've done enough. Stop talking. Don't try to invent your own dictionary for what words mean in our society. Well, I think the term dick really just refers to people. No.
It's short for Richard. What can
short
I say?
for Richard,
Listen, it's
and
just
that's how I see the word. Shut up. Stop talking. That's not an apology.
Yeah. Do you guys think that he's getting off on this because He's a well-known liberal activist. He's obviously left-wing. The media loves him. Left-wing media loves him, blah, blah, blah. And as Hillary Rosen, a former CNN correspondent, said, he gives money to the right causes. She was actually defending him, and I know her. I've had her on my old SiriusXM show, and I was sort of shocked at what she was saying, because basically she was saying, look, he gives money to gay causes, so let him say whatever he wants. Is that acceptable?
No, absolutely not acceptable. Incidentally, I don't think he wrote that apology. That's like two different people for one. So let's just start there. Like, that was completely eloquent and different than the person who was writing the tweets. But yeah, I think that would be maybe a good excuse that he's thinking, oh, well, I give money, so I have the right to do, it doesn't matter whether you give money or whether you, it doesn't mean it's okay for him to have said what he said. It just doesn't.
Yeah. Now, relating this to everything that's going on with Paul Deen, I know they're not exactly the same thing, but we have two public figures who are both being, one attacked and one let go by things that they said, one racial, one homophobic. Is the thing with Paula Deen, is this purely because she's a Southern woman? So there's this, again, this is sort of the left-wing media or the mainstream media. They can easily attack a woman from the South when it's related to a racial thing, but it's a lot dicier to attack sort of one of their own about even something gay, despite all the good gay stuff that's gone on lately.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's where it gets so tricky, is because even myself, just as a human, loving Alec Baldwin as an actor and all of the work he has done, it's so hard for me to be angry at him when I read it again. It helps, but somebody had pointed out if he was a conservative,
right,
and hadn't given to all these causes and was a different person, it would be outrageous and people would be furious.
Right. If Sean Hannity had said this, I'm pretty sure there would be riots outside of Fox News. Not that I ever want to defend Sean Hannity, which shows you how stupid.
I know. It's so tricky.
Yeah.
It's so tricky.
Well, the other thing about it, I think, too, is that Paula Deen is herself. She plays herself. She's not an actor like Alec Baldwin is. We don't see her in any other way like we do Alec Baldwin. We think of him and we think of the great roles, how funny he is, all the shows he's been on, all of that stuff. So I think that has a little bit to do with it. And absolutely, the fact that he is, liberal. Obviously, I don't think that he's homophobic. I really don't genuinely, as a person. Just if you ask my opinion.
So where does that come from? Where does that imagery come from?
I think that he, obviously, the guy has anger management issues, to say the least. And I think that when he gets angry, he obviously doesn't think before he speaks. I mean, we saw that. Look at the rage that he did towards his own daughter. Do you know what I mean?
With
so if that was okay to do that and attack his own daughter, I mean, anybody's game. And so I'm not saying it's, obviously I'm not condoning it or anything like that, but I think he just has anger management issues and he says things out of anger that maybe aren't rooted in, I think he loves his daughter, obviously, but you hear that voicemail and you would think different. Yeah. So, I don't know, but I really would love if his sponsors came out and said something.
All right, so we'll get to Capital One in a second, but before that, do you think that that this is really about a word? Because Paula Deen said the N-word, which we universally know, you shouldn't say, you shouldn't think, that whole thing. Now, he didn't say faggot, which is now becoming the new F word. Right. But do you think if he had said faggot, that then would have at least coalesced all the gay groups and glad not to have immediately exonerated him if he had actually said the word? Do you think that might have been, instead it was this imagery but not a word? Are we so dumb that...
Yeah, it's kind of messed up that in not using the word, he kind of skated by a little bit, even though what he had texted about the foot is so rage-filled.
Right.
So rage-filled and so much worse. But yeah, somehow he was able to skirt around it in word choices. I don't know how.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel two ways about it. I feel, on one sense, yes, that's obviously a hot button word. It's a trigger word. If he would have used it, I think people would have come out a lot stronger. But the other thing is, we have to remember is that Paula Deen, she sort of attacked a community of people. It wasn't one person. It wasn't in defense because she was provoked or anything like that. I think the difference is Alec Baldwin, though he messed up, he was provoked. This person did write something that was extremely slanderous and not okay about his wife. And is there anything more disrespectful than that, to say that you were at a funeral and we're uplifting or tweeted about smoothies or whatever it is they said.
And it turned out not to be true.
And it turned out not to be true. So I think people also take that into consideration. Like, Paula Deen was using these racial slurs because she wanted to throw a plantation party. I mean, Let's, you know, so I think it's that. And also, unfortunately, and I know that I'm not going to be the good guy on the panel to say it, but I think unfortunately we're still in a nation that people are more okay with gay slurs than they are racial slurs. And I wish that weren't the case, but I feel like we still are on that.
Right.
We're still on that balance.
And that's the irony of the whole thing, because we had all this great stuff happen with DOMA, and then this is happening at the exact same time, which shows you that everything is a long process. But okay, I want to talk about Capital One just to close this thing. So Alec Baldwin, you know he does those over-the-top commercials with Capital One. Capital One has not issued a statement. They've actually ignored dozens of my personal tweets, and they've ignored thousands and thousands of other people's tweets and emails and comments. And I know people from Forbes magazine and others have been trying to reach out to them to comment, but they've ignored everybody, which may beat to Vanessa's point that you still can say things about gay people and companies don't have to do anything. I actually called Capital One a couple times. They hung up on me twice. The third time, the rep said that he was on vacation, so he didn't know what was going on and that they couldn't get me in touch with anyone else. So I have paid off the tiny bit that I have left on my Capital One credit card and will no longer be using it. And
Good for you.
little something, right? It's a little,
absolutely.
my $25 credit limit with you people.
Our numbers.
Hello, Discover card. I'm on my way. But okay, so then final thought on this. Do you think it's just ridiculous that Capital One doesn't have to just, all I wanted them to, I didn't want them to fire him. I don't think people should be, but that they don't have to say anything. They haven't felt any pressure to say anything. Is that a bigger problem here than almost the
It's
initial
as though
hit?
they're not recognizing that he did anything wrong. I think that's maybe what bothers you, that they should come out and say either one way or the other. We're going to support him, or stand by him, or we're going to fire him, whatever, but they need to say something because something was done wrong. And for them not saying it.
She loses all her cookbooks, the TV show.
Everything, except for her magazine, I think.
And I think it is societal. I think if it was 1962 and somebody used the N-word like Paul Deen, nobody would comment on it either, and everybody would be like, well, okay, you know, and just you know,
it under the rug.
And I think hopefully in 40 years, nobody will be able to get away with anything like that again.
I think a perfect ending to a bizarre topic.